50%.
That's fine. I'm totally good. All right, so we're going to start here.
So
it is
are we
streaming.
talking to the camera or
yes,
each other?
Yes, it is. Well, yeah. Actually, yeah, let's talk to each other. But, we can do a wink and a nod at the camera, too.
Okay.
This is weird.
Yeah. So, a casual conversation.
All right, it is live right now, but what I'm going to do at this time is grab the link and then share it. And so, stuff. Oh my god, this is terrible. Oh, stop sucking so much. All right, so we're going to share, copy link. It's copied. Plop it in there. And away we go. There's that one. Hopefully this is actually the right link and I didn't grab like some porn, but maybe I did. Let's find out. And one other thing here. Okay, one other thing here. Hey everybody, for those that are hopping into chat, this is Kevin, hi, and this is Tim.
Hi.
I'm just populating everybody because we're doing a live stream chat about the topic of the ban list and also if we should have more than one format of EDH. So if I'm doing this for people to ask questions, we can go from there. Great. So more or less what I did was I pulled up Wizards' their official ban list. Right off the bat, I'll give you a heads up. There are some 25 conspiracy cards that are banned. I'm totally fine with these being banned because a lot of them are just unplayable in the EDH format as we know it. And then, of course, the cards that reference anti are also immediately banned. And they're banned in every format for the reason being that nobody wants to give up their cards and play for real like that. So
not anymore.
Not anymore.
Pansies.
So the reason for this conversation. By the way, welcome to the Basement Games. I'm Kevin. Again, this is Tim for those that are hopping in. Basically, my thinking of it is like this. I started as a casual getting into Commander some 7-8 years ago. Nobody's in the chat yet. You're fine.
No, I just want to see the back of my head really quick.
Oh, fantastic. And I've absolutely loved it. It's the only format I play. I started an entire store out of the idea that Commander is very popular. We've hosted tournaments, some really wacky tournaments, like a no ban list tournament, monocolor only tournament, creatures only tournament, all sorts of weird, unique tournaments. So we've taken the casual format really as far as you can go, okay? A lot more competitive, although most competitive players also have what they will call a casual deck as well. And you and I both have the same thing. Real quick before we kind of open this to discussion with Tim and certain things that are on the ban list and any user questions that are involved. Basically, I see it this way. I feel the way that Sheldon and his crew have their specific mindset of what Commander or EDH should be is the casual format, and it's specifically meant to be very open and embracing people. This is why we've changed the bans. This is why we changed the mulligans. This is why we've done away with the tuck rule. And yeah, you forgot about that for a second, didn't you? And all the other things that have made changes over the last 6-7 years of Commander. And it's great, and I'm happy with the way it is right now. That being said, I feel it punishes competitive Commander players by taking away staples in the format, like Paradox Engine, like my personal favorite, Rofellos. Some other things that are basically, if you're a competitive player that knows how to counter or exile or destroy or just how to play around certain things, your pod will be able to handle them. Maybe not if you're a brand new player that just bought a command set, 2019, 2020, whatever, but if you're a player who's been in this format for a long enough time, you should not have to operate under the same rules that somebody who's been in for day one. And I think Manaburn should make a comeback too, but let's get into that. So Tim, tell me your specific thoughts on the conversation.
Well, I think the most important thing when talking about a competitive environment is defining how do you separate competitive and casual. Now, for me, I look at competitive as being a deck that aims to win the game by, say, turn 3 or earlier, with 3 being usually a stretch of, like, my turn 3 on the draw, everybody else had a turn 2. Like, that's a late turn 3 to me. So targeting decks that have specific combo interaction, like your Flash Hulk interactions, your Lab Man Demonic Consultations, that's one style of ban list that you're going to look at from the competitive side.
Right.
Now, when we stretch into the late game and we talk about the casual side of it, now we're talking about extended board states. We're not talking about anybody having a snap, I win the game. And that's the reason why Iona is banned. You'll never see it in a competitive environment, but it locks casual players out of their entire color and their ability to play the game. Cards that destroy absolutely everything, like Worldfire, for example.
So real quick, so we have, this is a live stream chat on YouTube, so I'm just going to interrupt occasionally when we get people that pop in and say hi. We got some what's up, my dudes. Bring back Mana Burn. Yes, bring back Mana Burn. Now, I think you disagree with me on this, but here's what I want to say, because I'm a spiteful Timmy player, even though he actually is Tim. I'm a Timmy, which if you're a player, you know that that's basically somebody that wants creatures that smash. That's what I love doing. That being said, I honestly feel that you should be able to account, when you're a competitive player, no more of this, I make infinite mana. I think you should competitively know that there's a certain amount of mana you've made, and that's it. And here's why I think it's important. Because certain spells that end the turn become relevant again. So I make 10,000 mana, right? And then another player says, cool, end the turn. That 10,000 mana just killed you if Mana Burn is in the game. Your thoughts?
I think it's cute. I miss Mana Burn from a competitive vintage aspect because for the same reason, there's great cards like Eladamri's Vineyard, for example. It's a 1 green enchantment. This was from the Urza's Legacy or Destiny. I think it was Legacy. But it's a 1 green enchantment. At the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase, add 2 green to their pool. And we actually build control decks out of stacking multiples of these and just having a soft lock. You couldn't cast spells. You took Mana Burn during your main phase. Right. And then we just turbo-fogged it, and you just sat there, and that was it right there.
Yeah.
So, Mana Burn could definitely add a very interesting layer. I don't think it empowers the, I end your turn as much as it empowers a silence or a no effect in order to accomplish the same thing. Because a time stop being at 6, you're never going to see that in a competitive environment.
I think you could see it again when people, if they had to fear Mana Burn. I do think you would see that kind of effect again.
I think every single white deck would be packing a silence immediately.
Well, I already do.
Oh, obviously. I think you would see things like Isochron Scepter maybe gain a little bit more value.
Cranked EDH says, go Team Kess. We the best. Apparently people are just name dropping in here. If you guys have questions you want to ask us, what I'd like to do, not to interrupt, but just to give people something visually to show. So here's certain cards that are on the ban list. I'm going to scroll through them and give you a visual very quickly and kind of describe them. And maybe we could just quickly go over things that yes or no, if we split the format and we had, because this is all EDH ban list. If there was a competitive EDH, do you think these cards are okay and could be taken off the ban list?
Well, let's start with this. If we consider this already a ban list,
I know, Gio. I know it's you. Thanks.
Watch this. Now, if we consider this a ban list for our casual already, let's purely talk about a competitive list, and I'm going to start with this.
Sure.
In competitive EDH, do you allow the Power 9 on this list, yes or no? And blah, go.
So my only concern with the Power 9 is how ridiculously expensive it is, and play with it if they'd have it, or B, just can't afford it. So you allow for some way for everyone to get access to it, or you just say it is as it is where no one gets it. And I think that's honestly the reason a lot of it's banned. Because you can't tell me some of these Power 9 Moxes are not, Soul Ring, I know it pays 1, but there are other 0-drop Mox Diamond that's legal. There are other 0-drop rocks that make color, maybe not as good as Power 9, but pretty close. But I think the reason they specifically ban most Power 9 is because of the price.
But remember, we don't care about price right now.
And Gio is reminding me, yes, except for the Twister. We're going to get to the Twister in a second. So you're saying in a world where money is no object.
In a world where that is what a competitive
specifically
event is.
Only on the idea of how powerful it is or if it's broken.
Exactly.
Okay, in that world, yes, I would probably let all of Power 9 in competitive.
I'm gonna have to draw the line at Time Walk between all three of these.
Okay, Time Walk. I forgot about Time Walk.
Time Walk
Isn't
is
that
the one.
The Power 10, or is that still on the 9?
Library
is Power 10.
Library of Alexandria used to be Power 10. We'll get to that card on this list later on, which is another money.
So that's a hot point. Thank you, Gio. If you have your thoughts. Basically, the concept is, would we allow Power 9? It's a little bit of yes and no, but probably yes, a good chunk of it. I think all the Moxes are fine.
I think so, too.
I think even, I personally just love to see a Black Lotus in play, but I do understand how people get scared of that. But yes, Time Walk, another turn for 2 mana, that may be a step too far. All right, let's go through this real quick. So we have Ancestor Recall, one of the Power 9. That was the one you were just talking about.
I would still allow it.
I would definitely allow drawing 3. Yes, 100%. Balance. I would allow balance.
In a competitive
Absolutely.
cEDH, absolutely.
Balance even got reprinted as if Wizards themselves is saying, why is this not allowed? It was reprinted in Eternal. It's a shit mythic because it's not legal in our format. If it was, it'd be a $50 card.
But you know what? In the casual respect, I have to understand why. Because it takes away so much from the game. It sets the entire board state backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And when you control balance, like, you can discard your hand. You can sack all your lands. You can sack your creatures. You can create a board state in which you prep for this and then float mana Second Sunrise. You can absolutely obliterate in an entire game.
That's true.
And from a casual side,
If it was officially printed by Wizards, it's allowed in any of my tournaments.
Yep.
And I think most LGSs respect the same thing. So yeah, 100% on that.
I totally agree with that too.
All right, so balance. Biorhythm, one of my favorites as a Timmy. So Biorhythm basically says they find ways to cheat in very high-costed spells. That being said, I feel like if you can sneak this in at sorcery speed to win the game, you deserve to win the game. Because this involves either somehow a turn 1 or turn 2 play when no one's got a creature out, which is, I don't know how you do it. I just don't. In mono green. I would assume it's mono green because of the cost.
Well,
or it's after a board wipe and then you play it, which means you got off a successful board wipe and you've played this ridiculous spell and you have at least one creature so you don't kill yourself.
I mean, the entire reason why this card, in my opinion, is currently banned is Cyclonic Rift.
Jay says, we have a vote for Biorhythm being fair in EDH. I completely agree. cEDH should be allowed to buy Biorhythm, but go ahead, what you're saying.
Casual, I totally respect banning this card.
Now,
Because
why in casual? Because it just scares people?
No, because there's too many ways at flash speed to manipulate creatures, protect yourself, and get around that.
You have to get this 8 mana cost. I can see if it was the cost of balance. If it costs 2, I get that. It's 8 mana. At 8 mana, you should be able to do powerful broken spells.
You're right, but that is so easily done on turn 2 in any semblance of a green deck with one creature to win the game. Like, yes, it is 8 mana, but 8 mana is nothing in today's day and age. You're telling me that you can't go turn 1 Soul Ring.
He's doing the math right now.
Let's
see it. It's going to be, hold on, let's get it. Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, there's 2 cards. You have to have a land at some point. We'll call it an Ancient Tomb. So far you have no green mana.
No, hold on.
A Mox Diamond. You're now down to 5 cards. I don't think you do it.
No, honestly, what I was thinking about is, can you natural order into the triple mana dude? And
now
then,
that could be fun.
Now you
be
natural
fun.
order into the triple mana dude.
Yeah.
And then your 1 green now taps with your 2 rocks, and you can win the game on turn 2.
I mean, natural order, or what's the one through the breach? He threw the breach at somehow that triple mana dude.
But
so he's
like,
only out for 1 turn. You only need him for 1 turn.
In a perfect world,
Show and tell would do it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right, so I get why the casuals don't have this on their list. That's fine. But cEDH, I think this is totally fair because every motherfucker's playing counter magic or they know how to work around this problem.
Oh, 100%. It already exists on a creature that people do anyway.
Yeah. Lotus, we all know Lotus. We love Lotus. We said bring back Lotus in a Commander cEDH format. Now, Braids. Braids is heavy shit. What do you think about Braids?
I'm actually cool with keeping Braids off, believe it or not.
Tell me why.
Because Braids is way too easy to build into a turn 1 Braids 95% of the time. Like, there's enough black rituals with rocks, with getting 4 mana in this day and age, turn 1 is not difficult at all.
So Jay says if Braids is allowed back in, no one would play cEDH.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Because
I'm not saying to get rid of the entire ban list for cEDH. I'm saying there's things you could take off, and here's the reasons why. So I'll agree with that.
So, like, right now, guys, just so you know what we're looking at is, let's wipe the slate clean. This right here, I'm calling a casual ban list.
Yes.
So now, if we wanted to remake a competitive ban list, you know, we're going down this list and kind of giving everything the old Caesar thumbs up or thumbs down.
All right, so we're doing a thumbs down
We're doing a thumbs up
Braids.
or thumbs down.
Okay, I respect that.
I think Braids in a cEDH environment is too easy, too abusable, and too consistent about locking everyone out.
I know Gio loves this because he plays old school, and this is one of the cards he uses. So for those that don't know, Chaos Orb, old school's card. Basically, you flip the card up. Whatever it touches, you get to choose. Basically, you choose a permanent, You flip the card. If it touches that permanent, I believe, or does it have to cover it?
No.
If it touches it, right? If it touches it, that player has to destroy it, I believe.
No. You flip Chaos Orb onto the battlefield from a height of at least 1 foot.
Right.
Has to turn over once. Got to do a complete flip. When it lands, any cards in play that it touches are destroyed.
I believe it was errata to say the one land you have named, but perhaps you could... okay. Hold on. I'm going to back this up just a hair because I got something wrong. Jay is saying he's pro braids in cEDH. His comment was about biorhythm, which is funny because we actually think that braids is a bigger problem than biorhythm, but that's a good thought. And Geo is correcting us. There's no errata. It is just the one target. No errata, the one target, if I got that correct. So I believe it is one target that you choose. If it touches it, it's destroyed. And you do have to sacrifice this effect. I feel, honestly, the reason it's banned in casual is just because it's a unique, weird card. It's one of a kind. And also because they're worried about certain costs. I think because it's expensive, blah, 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 blah. In cEDH, I don't see a problem with this.
Nope, none at all. I really don't. It's cool.
You know, some are easier than others. They really are. I play several of them. This one's a difficult one. First of all, let's take a look at this Wooburg mana cost.
+3.
It's Wooburg +3. So it's an 8 CMC, including, again, Wooburg. Now, granted, there are a lot of new ways to make Wooburg that are a little bit easier than they used to be. But here's the spell. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color. Now, here's an interesting thought. This could work if there's that new creature enchantment from Theros that all your land is each land of each basic type.
Yep, that is true.
And you could easily get a creature, a Wooburg creature out. There's very cheap ones out that are out there.
I mean,
so this is fairly easy, or easier than it used to be.
Well, the truth is like this card, I think, got banned for the reason of Dream Halls. Because with Dream Halls, you turn one the Dream Halls, you go tutor for Conflux, you go search out a card of every color, getting your Wooburg creature, your Wooburg enchantment, and then your green blah blah blah, your Prismatic Vista.
Right.
And now you have 2 cards of fodder plus one of anything in order to pitch, and win the game.
Would you surmise that the reason that these types of cards are banned is because it doesn't have the comma on your upkeep?
Well, this is a sorcery.
Correct. Yeah, you got me there.
This is a sorcery.
I guess what I was trying to say is any of the ones that allow you to win, like Felder Sovereign, all of these effects typically are on your upkeep effects. So they allow people, you cast a spell, usually at sorcery speed, you have to wait till your next turn.
They allow interaction. They are an insta, I win the game. And that's what, like, the commonality, like, this is the same thing as Biorhythm, where you can drop something and create a board state that isolates you and you win the game.
Yeah. Jay, I don't know your last name. I know who Geo is. They both agree that Coalition victories should be allowed back because of all the hoops you have to jump through. 100%. Yeah. Channel Fireball, one of the favorite old school cards. Yeah, Channel. Again, reprinted in Iconic Masters. This, I know that they were claiming they're not the same, but I feel like sometimes when Wizards reprint stuff like this, because they don't really pay any mention to, because it's not a modern legal card, so this is really a legacy vintage card, and they don't really pay attention to that. I think they're really basically saying to the Commander group that they do pay attention to, hey, let this off the ban list. I feel like they're kind of subtly putting this out there. Otherwise, at Mythic, this is a big fuck you to anybody. It really is.
You know what? They do need space fillers, and when you think about appealing to the casual crowd, there are players who will play this card not at the degenerate level that it is capable of, and I actually had that happen. I went to
So you think cards like this get reprinted for kitchen table players?
Absolutely, yes. It sells packs.
I don't think Channel sold packs.
I don't think so either, but I think... The set in general.
Okay.
In a competitive environment, this is what this card really means. This is a turn 1 green, and a rock. Now, the reason why this is banned is because you have 40 life. Cool. I'm going to pay 20 life. 25. I'm going to drop 3 rocks in my hand, followed by the 2 Eldrazi's, 2 Ulamogs. I'm going to blow up both of your lands exile. I'm going to blow up yours with the destroy effect. And then I'm going to sit here with 2 guys.
So red, which is not the power of mana, color of mana, excuse me, in Godot plays Treasonous Ogre and does this shit all the time. And that's not banned. Why is Treasonous Ogre okay but Channel isn't? And this is, by the way, what green is supposed to do is make an asshole amount of mana.
The difference is that Treasonous Ogre is a 3-for-1 on your life or mana ratio. This is a 1-for-1. Treasonous Ogre also comes at a 5-cost barrier to entry as a creature, as opposed to 2 green as a sorcery. So
fair question. I've seen Treasonous Ogre plays on turn 1 and wreck face in a Goto deck. Absolutely.
Well, how much mana did that guy generate? At most,
enough mana to get Treasonous Ogre out.
Yeah. So he drops the Ogre. He puts himself down to 1 life, and he has 13 mana to show for it. 13. That's a big number to be at 1 life. Something to get of a gut shot or a Scorched Ruins, and you're dead.
Highly recommend playing stuff like Gut Shot, Lightning Bolt, Shock. Play these in EDH because so many times your opponent's life goes down to 1 or 2.
Correct. Every hit point matters in competitive, whether you realize or not. But this guy, now we just said you could pay 39 life for 13 mana.
Right.
Cool. I could get the same for 13 here. I could get 30 mana and still be at 10.
Okay. This same argument's going to come up again when you get to Raphaelis. All right. Emrakul, my favorite, everyone's favorite Eldrazi. Now, I will say this. I love fucking Eldrazi. This is the ultimate in Timmy creatures.
Unless you got 15 squirrels.
Being said, first of all, squirrels don't fly. I guess he flies. Why does everybody say the squirrel thing? Squirrels don't fly. Okay. Here's the thing. I get it. I get that people can find ways to get this out on turn 1 or 2. And if they take an extra turn, because they somehow cast this giant fucking thing,
100%.
It's over. It's absolutely over. I unfortunately have to admit that everyone's going to say this should stay on the ban list. Any thoughts?
I have to agree that this one has to stay on the ban list.
It's too bad because it's so awesome. If you took away the extra turn, then I feel it could be played. Yes, it's a huge creature.
Yeah,
but if
to be fair,
the extra
at that
turn
point,
kills you. Absolutely kills you.
And the fact that it's on cast
Yeah.
means there's so little that can actually
You have to stifle the caster. It's
only blue can technically do
right,
that.
Right.
So
I do understand why this is definitely on the casual ban list, and this would probably stay on my competitive ban list.
Like this is effectively haste with
and
Annihilate.
I always forget because I haven't played it in so long.
Protection from
colors. He can't
spells.
path the fucker at all.
No.
He's just there.
Yeah.
I forgot what format. I guess he was allowed in Commander at one point, right? Because I used to play him, and I didn't play anything but Commander, so I'm pretty
I
sure
actually
he was
ran
allowed.
him in Joyra before it got banned.
Oh my god.
And I was turn 2 to turn 3 casting my Eldrazi's off suspend.
So Jay is saying that we need to unban the Flying Spaghetti Monster because we all deserve a 15-15. I think we need another format. Because I feel like there's just too many ways that he could get out on turn 1 or 2 and make every game unfun. They can't get ahead of that. There's just no way.
Yeah, and there's so little answers too, and that's the other problem.
I love Eldrazi. This hurts me because this is the mother of all Eldrazi. But unfortunately, too powerful.
But in a competitive environment, I would still vote to keep him out.
Yeah.
Now the next one is incredibly interesting.
Arrow. I don't remember Arrow.
Arayo.
Oh, right.
Now I was upset because Arayo originally got banned on the Commander-only ban list, which is why Raphaelis, Braids, Arayo, a handful of commanders are on this list to begin with. I was actually playing it more as a beater in my Derevi deck with just value spells and flipping it for tempo. Mm-hmm. But what makes it incredibly disgusting is in a mono blue control deck, it's incredibly easy to drop this, 2 rocks, play into a Ponder or Preordain, flip it immediately, drop an Arcane Lab, and lock the table out by like turn 2, if not sooner.
I haven't played with this or against it. I don't know.
He is absolutely dirty. So
I'm reading upside down. Counter the first spell player played by... Oh, so you counter the first spell each opponent plays each turn.
It's a legendary he goes from a creature to an enchantment.
Oh, God,
so
that is
he becomes
bad.
an enchantment that counters the first spell you play every turn. And the original...
Each player or just opponents?
Each opponent.
It's opponent.
Each turn.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
bad.
then I slap an Arcane Laboratory, and you're only allowed to play 1 spell per turn.
So there's a 9-drop artifact creature that does the same thing. Each player's spell is countered. The first spell played each turn is countered. But it's everyone. Yeah. And it's a 9-drop, and it's a creature that doesn't flip. So that's legal. I forgot the name of it. I definitely understand why for 2 mana that this is banned. And I would probably also keep this banned as well. Consider, because there's quite a few cards on here, we could come to an end somewhere around like the Moxes if you want to make a series part 1 and part 2, or we could keep going. I'll leave it up to you to decide. All right, so next up, Falling Star. Falling Star, what is this? Flip star onto the... Can you get the errata on this?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Star must turn at least 106... Oh, this looks like another Chaos Orb type effect. Star lands does 3 damage to each creature that it touches. And so it's basically a mini board wipe, but you have to do some shenanigans where you flip it in the air. I have no problem with this. This is fine.
Yeah, it's basically another Chaos Warp, but it does lightning bolts everything and hits instead.
Here's the question I want to know. If someone casts this, and it's one of these flip things, if it is touches each one, are you as the player owner and responsible for your creatures, can you move them as far apart from each other as you want on the battlefield?
There actually is errata in rules.
Is there?
Before you do it, you're allowed to do it in the meantime. But before we go into that, let's go down a couple more cards.
Okay.
Because the next one's truly interesting.
I love how Gio knows all the errata on this stuff. We should have had you in this conversation. Maybe we'll save this for a round 2 with you.
Yeah.
Fast Spawn. I thought this was actually... Because there's Fast Spawn and the other one. What's the other one? Fast Spawn and Slow Bond. There's another one just like this that is allowed. Very similar but different.
The one that dumps all the lands.
Yes, it dumps your whole hand though.
Oh, not Mana Breach.
No, it's another bond. It's like crazy bond. Suck me beautiful. Gio. Anyway, Fast Spawn reads.
Gio, help us out.
Yes, let us know. Mana bond. Thank you, Gio. Gio, it's like you're here but you're not.
So it's halfway there.
Yeah. You may play any number of lands on each of your turns. Whenever you play a land, if it wasn't the first land you played this turn, it deals 1 damage to you.
It's got to stay out. I'm going to go first on this one, dog, and say in a land of decks like Thrasios Timna and Gitrog Shenanigans and land things with like Zurin Orb and Graveyard Shenanigans, you're going to tell me that I can't just...
No, it's really broken.
Yeah, it's absolutely... It enables too many green decks to win on turn 1 unhandedly. Period.
This is everything I love in Magic. I'm a green player.
And
I love lands. I love enchantments. I love Timmy. And I think it should be illegal. So I get this card, yes. The funny thing about Mana Bond, it allows you to... Like, if this were Sorcery Speed, and maybe that's why Mana Bond is allowed. If it were Sorcery Speed, costs a little bit more. I feel like there could be some chance, like 1 turn you get to dump your hand. But that's what Mana Bond does. Mana Bond literally is that card.
But if that's
you lose your whole hand too.
If that's an end step trigger, you lose your... I can just build to a strip lock on turn 1, and you know what?
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
In the middle of the game, I go Crucible, Fast Bond, Strip.
No.
Screw it, I'm going to pay 20 life and LD everybody for the rest of the game. Then I'm going to get my fetch land. I'm going to rip every land out of my deck.
Your fantasy aside. All right, let's move on.
You love the card.
All right, Gifts Ungiven is the next one on the list. Okay. Oh, new art. I hadn't seen this. So search your library for up to 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards in your graveyard and the rest in your hand and shuffle your library. I didn't think this was banned. I thought this was legal.
No, this is totally banned.
Wow.
The reason why is
it because it's an instant?
1, because it's an instant, and 2, because when you get to search for the 4 cards, in today's print run of selection, it's too easy to manipulate the 4 where you give your opponent no choice. Where you get to grab combo piece, Noxious Revival, and Revival card. So no matter how I give you these 2 pieces, you effectively get what you want, and it enables too many decks to get their combo in either the deck or the graveyard.
Would you say that it's fine for casual, but do you think it should come off a cEDH ban list? So hold on, there's a few comments on this. Quite a few for Unban Gifts 2020. Okay, Unban Gifts. And then Gio says, what you're saying right now is it exists right now, Tim. He's specifically saying you. And then also Jay says, don't be a coward, let cEDH use it. And Chris is saying Magic Talk. Yes. Welcome, Chris.
You know what? In the interest of a competitive environment, I would say unban it and allow it.
You hear that? The pressure of the people got to him. I'm not a blue player. I mean, I don't play optimally as a blue player. I play like a Timmy, and I would unban this. I already thought it was legal.
Because in all fairness, now that you guys got me thinking about it a little, it doesn't win you the game. It enables, it tutors, it does items. It's also one of those politics cards that they also ban for a casual reason. But,
and I'm just also seeing the stream. They're seeing most of your arms.
Yeah.
So if you scooch in a little bit more, they may see you too. Okay, stop there. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Our old friend Grizzlebrand. Now, anything that costs 8 mana, I think needs to have heavy consideration before it's banned, and here's why. It costs 8 goddamn mana. I understand the ability is a little broken, but it's a black giant-ass creature, and if this is banned, why don't they ban stuff like Avacyn, which is a really broken feature? I play Avacyn. I know how broken it can be. I don't get it. If you get to the point where you can afford 8 mana, especially 4 black mana, I feel like you get to do broken things.
But it's not about his cost in this. It's one, as a creature, it enables you to get him out easier, cheaper, and differently.
Well, I'm talking of him as a commander. In the 99, I understand how you can cheat him out easier. But as a commander, it's very hard to cheat him out.
But you probably won't even run him as the commander. I mean, you definitely could. But you'd probably run Kilrick or something as the commander, because then he becomes 8 life, 4 mana.
So to go what you just said, Jay said they would use Kilrick anyway. And also, Vils and Razaketh, no one cares about Grizzle. So we would unban it in competitive.
Yeah, to be honest.
Because you've already got more powerful shit anyway.
Well, now here's the question.
Or different powerful shit.
Are you banning or unbanning Yawgmoth's Bargain? Because it's in the same category. You can skip right to the end of the list, because that's a 6 mana enchantment that says pay 1 life, draw 1 card. And if you're taking this off for competitive, you have to take off Bargain at the same time.
Now, I don't know that card very well.
Scroll down to it.
Well, hold on. But that being said, we're talking 8 versus 6, 2 totally different mana costs. A creature that is very easy to kill versus enchantment, which is not always easy to kill. I would have to look at that card specifically and see the difference. So that's my thought on it. But let's go down there, because I have a personal pet peeve about our next one. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, that comes off immediately.
Immediately off.
Yeah, that's
immediately
no question
off.
At all. That's not even a discussion.
Yeah.
Just next.
Yeah, no, this was only banned. First of all, I did play this for a while. It's super fun. It's annoying. People hate it when you call their color. There are ways, actually, I've seen it, where you can make multiple copies of him, and each one starts cutting off, and you could basically, what's the artifact?
Helm of the Host.
Helm of the Host gives you basically, you can get the whole rainbow.
Or Spark Double.
There's a few ways to do it. But it's all shenanigans. It's fun, and honestly, this should be in casual. The only reason it was banned is because they took Painter Servant off, and they feel that's too janky. But c'est la vie. All right, Caracas. How do we feel about Caracas?
I think that has to stay banned, because even though it is a white exclusive card, in the competitive world, you have to respect things like Thrasios and Tymna, and giving them a Plains with a free, no cost, no penalty, bounce any commander back to their hand. It's just too free and cheap to nullify so many strategies. Not to mention bouncing your own value for commander at times for no reason at all. I just think inherently too strong because of the format. Just period.
I can't totally disagree with that. If anybody else has extra thoughts. Jay is saying, I would love to play Caracas, but that would be suppress any and all commanders. Caracas stays banned. Jay, we have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I was in the format, I think you were too, when Leovold was wrecking face. So just to read it for those that don't know, Leovold, each opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes target of a spell or ability to control opponent controls, you may draw a card. So here's how this game works. On turn 1 or 2, you get this out, and you wheel, and everybody loses.
Yeah, it's just nobody can stop you from maintaining card advantage, taking away their hands. He's a 3/3, so he actually survives a lot of the cheaper, somewhat removal. Yeah. And even when you target him, he replaces himself with a card. So it's really hard to stop.
So Gio wants Leovold unbanned, and let's see, and Jay wants Leovold unbanned. I don't know. I would have to do some test runs on it, because it really warped the format.
I mean, in the world of Flash
Granted, it's harder. It's a little harder to do a wheel because you don't have red, but you do have blue, and blue wheels are
Blue has plenty of wheels, which are fine, but the problem I have with this is, you're...
And then someone flashes in an Ocean Thief, and everybody's fucked.
Yeah, well, you get Flash Hulk, you get all your Thassa's Oracle stuff, you get Jacewind, you get all of your tutors, all of your ramp, all of your wheels. Like, it's just...
I feel like the top decks almost every time would have a Leovold, or that would be in like the top 10 pairings. There's always going to be a Leovold.
There would be 8 out of 10 Leovolds,
and I do understand the ban for it, but it'd be worth trying out, and we may do another no ban list tournament here in the near future. All right, Library of Alexandria. For those that don't know, add 1 to your mana pool, draw a card, activate this ability only if you have exactly 7 cards in your hand. Thoughts?
It can absolutely come off.
I would agree.
I mean, I've used to actually play it in Vintage back when the card was $100 or $150, and just it had its value because in Vintage, you draw for turn, you play library. Next turn, you draw. You library, you draw, you play your land. And you would tempo your hand around this in order to just have a land that said tap, draw a card. But the second you went down to 5 and then had to wait a turn and wait a turn, it loses all of its potential there. So it's a very greedy card, situational.
Yeah.
It's banned more of for the price, I would assume, than anything at this. But this could absolutely even come off this ban list nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I think library could definitely come off. Sure, there may be some ways you can manipulate and abuse it, but I think if you build your deck around abusing this, it's a very weak deck. All right, next up. I didn't even realize this was on the ban list.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, God.
Limited resources. Old school card. I'll read it for you. When it comes into play, each player chooses 5 lands he or she controls and sacks the rest. As long as there are 10 or more lands in play, players cannot play lands. So this basically is a way of not only board wiping your lands, but locking down so everyone's stuck with the same land total they have. So if you build, let's say, any deck, and you make it a heavy artifact deck, you just have to control everyone's lands, and that's GG. 1 white, it's an enchantment.
So you would ramp up with, turn 2 rampant growth. Then you would hit him with a plow under. Then you'd go limited resources, and then once you both got the 10 lands, you would LD their land and play another one, and then LD and play another one. Yeah. And they're going, I can't play anything. And
the consensus is a little muddled in the chat, but I would say between Tim and I, probably stay banned. Yeah.
That has to stay banned.
It's if it cost more, I would reconsider it. But 1 mana, that's pretty bad. All right, moving on. So we talked briefly about these already. Everybody knows the Power 9. So we got our Mox Emerald, Mox Jet, Pearl, Ruby, Sapphire. I say unban them all.
Yeah, I'm 100%. Cool with that.
Mox Diamond already exists in the format, and although that does cost you a land, I feel that if that's fair, this is fair, and the only reason this is banned is because of the price. Yeah. So you either allow for certain types of proxies, collector's editions, whatever you want to do, but yeah, I feel that in a competitive EDH environment, you're going to see these in every deck.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Next one's interesting.
The Panoptic Mirror.
Yeah, so this guy says it's a 5 mana artifact. You can pay X, where X is the CMC of the card you want to imprint, instant or sorcery, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast any instant or sorcery that you imprinted on it. Right. So in other words, you just throw a Time Warp under it, and you now have infinite turns. Because at the beginning of your upkeep,
now how different is this with Dramatic Reversal and Scepter?
This one, that's why I said this is interesting, because now that you have cards like Force of Vigor, you have cards like Force of Negation, you have a lot more freebie stuff than you do before. I honestly think that this is something I could see giving a shot. Yeah. It's just...
based on what I've seen in more competitive games, this seems totally fair, and I think could come off even the casual ban list. So for anybody that likes market advice, I would, if they're cheap, I don't know the cost on these, I would consider picking a few of these up. Because it could come off in a one-day unbanning.
Well, I mean, this guy was also, I believe, a singular print run as well. I'm not sure they really...
This is Darksteel, I believe. So if there's any other prints of that, probably not, because they always put the most recent print art up. Yeah. So it's probably one-time printed. If anybody has the number off right off the bat, Panoptic Mirror. I may look into that just as something, because I like to spec in certain cards that I feel could come off the list at some point. This feels like and it doesn't really do anything that scary.
It's automatically too easy for infinite turns on a casual level, and that's where they draw the line.
Well, more also the point is, like, if you ban this, you got to get rid of the Dramatic Scepter or Dramatic Reversal and Scepter combo, and then then you're, no one's having any fun.
You know what? I'm going to say no to that, because Dramatic Scepter still requires other cards to function. Okay. If you don't have other rocks or items to untap, it doesn't do anything. So you need at least 3 mana from rocks just to profit to go infinite, and it doesn't even guarantee you colors unless you have that generated in those rocks. Whereas with this, if I put any time spell underneath this immediately, I have infinite turns no matter what I do elsewhere. No other commitment, no other cards. Yeah. 2 pieces, I win. So
for those that are watching the live stream, thank you very much for joining us, by the way. We're going to continue on with the list, but I would also like to know, we're just trying a different setup visually. I know it's not as polished as your other channels, but we all know you and you all know us. We'd love to hear feedback if you like this kind of format, if the screen is working, more just visually how it looks, or if it's something you would watch again or debate over. If the audio sounds good, feel free to let us know in the chat. And we'll move on to the next one, which I think is a very hot topic and pissed a lot of players off. Paradox Engine. Does it come off of your cEDH ban list?
On the cEDH list, yes.
Okay.
That definitely comes off the list. On the casual list, I think that it does need to stay on here. I was a proponent for it being banned because it truly extended a lot of players' turns unnecessarily, especially when people don't know where the hell they're going or doing with it.
So here's the rumor. The rumor is, what's his name, Shane? No, who's the guy who runs? Sean? Jim? Sheldon. Of course it is. So Sheldon was in some casual games with some newer players. Somehow they got a hold of Paradox Engine, and they extended their turn into what we call a Malcolm turn, where it went over a half hour and they didn't win. And he's like, enough. And he basically just said, like, the next day we're done, because it was too long the turns were, and he just got frustrated by that. And there wasn't the sense of fun because their turns were taking too long.
That's one part of it, but here's the flip side of that too. It didn't actually get banned until Urza from Modern Horizons was announced and came into play. And then at that point, it just became, this guy can now tap for mana. It untapped with your Urza. It was too easy for Urza to drop that, get the Paradox Engine, and just dump 5 mana into his ability and go off. So in a cEDH list, I would allow it. In the casual, I think it's fine where it is.
So we just got a comment about the visual clarity from, let's see, blah, 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 Toxin. Toxin saying it's a little hard to see the cards. I apologize about that. In a future version, we will focus better, and we're just trying new things out. But thank you very much for the feedback on that. So some things about Paradox Engine. Geo, of course, is still salty that's banned, and Sheldon got all butthurt, but he doesn't represent the entire cEDH or the entire Commander community. Correct. Very correct. Yep. And that's more or less what this conversation is about, and I'm going to keep pressing on this. I feel we, as a competitive audience here in the Commander world, especially in New York City, have some of the best, Geo being one of them, top 8 of the fucking Vegas tournament. Another one of our players, Joseph, top the final table, you know. I feel like we have some of the best. We have some of the best experience in competitive. And I feel if a new format or a new ban list or a split of the tree of Commander were to happen, it's going to happen here in New York. Maybe not in this house, but somewhere. Just because we have the most experience with it. All right, moving on. Prime time.
Comes off.
Comes off, really?
For competitive?
I'm surprised. So for those that don't know, 6/6 trample costs 6.
My favorite creature, like ever.
My favorite creature. Prime time enters or attacks. You get 2 lands. Not forced. 2 lands. And you put them in the battlefield tapped.
You know, if it was basic lands...
Bounce, get your deck. That's it, man. Yeah. Just bounce, get your deck. I think that's ballsy. I think it could come off. I think it would come back on because I love this card. Love it.
Absolutely do. But you know what? Here's the thing. In a competitive environment, when you invest 6 mana for your Primeval Titan, I'm going to cast Flash and win the game. Or I'm just going to Force of Will it and not give a crap. Like... I don't know. I
don't see a green player that doesn't play this, and they start playing a lot more bounce spells. But I also think what happens is they have to remove other competitive cards out of their deck. So you're going to see a weird alignment if this is allowed back in the format. But I think games would go a lot faster because you're getting people that are now just getting their whole decks out. And now I think LD could become a thing. Like Land Destruction could find its way back in this format.
That's actually another part of it too, is I grab Primeval Titan, I go grab Stripline Wasteland. Then the second time around, I go grab, Field of Ruin and another Ghost Quarter.
Yeah.
Then after that, I go grab a Deserted Temple or something else in order to grab a strip back.
If for no reason other than, and I don't know where the final version sits. I would like to see it come off. I want to see play. But I think it allows for some creative usage of your lands. Your lands become way more important than they are right now when you can just instantly get them with Prime Time. So I would like to see it in the format of competitive. I don't know if it stays there forever, though, because damn, that is powerful.
I'll say this guy could probably come off, but our next contestant, however...
no. Hardcore no.
Yeah, I'm still not cool
with
this.
For those that don't know, I was in the format when this was around. Prophet of Crucifix.
Me too.
Every fucking game was about this card.
That's it.
Every game. And they all played Simic, and they all played this card. Now, is it a Seedborn Muse? No, it is not a Seedborn Muse, and here is why. This right here. Because you can cast it at flash. And all your creatures at flash. I forgot about that. Oh, wait. No. You may cast creature cards. Oh, that's right. You have to cast this creature at sorcery speed, but all your creatures gain flash. Yeah. And then, of course, you untap everything.
No, you untap all your creatures and lands. So in a Simic deck, you actually shied away from the rocks, and you went with the dorks instead. You were playing your Llanowar Elves, Yavamayas, your Birds of Paradise, all of those guys, your Gilded Bloom Tenders, and you're untapping all of those with Thrasios, by the way, in the format as well. So now you have Thrasios as your commander. You play a Prophet of Crucifix. You're generating 6 mana off of your creatures, and let's just say 5 off your lands, or 6 off your lands. And then you're getting 2 to 3 Thrasios triggers every turn, expanding your mana base on every other player's turn while netting a full hand. Oh, and by the way, at the end of your turn, I'm going to refill my hand. At the end of your turn, I'm going to dump some creatures. At the end of your turn, I'm going to dump the other creatures.
So, contrary thought, and Gio brought this up, you allow it to come back in because cEDH does not have a lot of creature decks. So it would help open the format some. Just a contrary thought. To quote Gio, he says that Prophet allows you to make a cheaper cEDH deck because you can use mana dorks and creatures and things like that. It's not as busted as Leovolt. Okay.
True.
It is, I feel, on a power level of Primetime, which we were also, well, you were very much for. I would like to see it come back, but I also know how bad it can be. I would go on this. I would say if we were doing it, I would say it comes off for a while and then we see how it goes.
I feel like the problem is if you allow these specific cards, how do you play anything else?
Oh no, the format gets so here's the thing that I think changes. If you create this separate list with things like Primetime and Paradox Engine and Prophet, right? If you allow this, you are allowing so much of the power back into cEDH, right?
Yeah.
That maybe Prophet isn't as scary as it once was. Maybe Paradox isn't as scary because you're allowing 8 to 10 to 15 cards. You're allowing power back into the game. So now all of a sudden these cards that dominated the format when we had this casual ban list, they're not as terrifying as they once were because we're allowing so many other cards back in. So maybe we would give Prophet a chance. I think that's possible.
That's on a heavy watch list for me.
Yes.
If you do that.
No.
Like
I want to see if the whole fucking tournament becomes about Prophet. Yes.
I honestly think it does because there's no reason not to. It's too easy to gain value, too easy to build into. And being able to flash in creature cards means she generates so much value after the fact, and you can't stop it. That's the thing. You drop it on your turn. Yeah. You let someone.
I remember how awful this game was. It was always the collective sigh of Prophet of Crucifix. How many counters do we have to try to counter it? How many counters does the guy playing Prophet have?
All right, dude. Then I'm gonna play my Phantasmal Image, and I'm gonna copy your Prophet.
Oh, and yeah.
Yep. He's gonna copy the Prophet. Yep. All right, cool. It's your turn. Yep. Everybody untap. Everybody gets responses. Everyone is.
You've obviously never played my Savala deck that does that anyway. All right. Next up,
I do. You just don't draw lands.
Yeah, exactly. So Prophet, I would take off the list, but a heavy watch.
Yeah, I feel like it should stay, but fine.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Recurring Nightmare.
Oh, this is a goodie.
This is old school art too. I love this.
Yeah, this was a good one.
So Recurring Nightmare, sack a creature, return, and it's an enchantment.
Yes.
Return Recurring Nightmare to its owner's hand. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now activate this only anytime you can activate sorcery. So in other words, you can only do this at sorcery speed on your turn, one would think. It's an enchantment. You have it out for 3. What scary shit are you coming out of your graveyard with?
It's not about the fact that it's a recurable reanimate as much as there's so many different combos and loops that you can do with dropping a creature that generates in order to sack it, reanimate, do that loop.
Do you feel that Wizards has balanced out graveyard hate enough? You've got lands that exile graveyards. You've got enchantments that exile graveyards. There's enough way to exile graveyards that we shouldn't be as afraid of people looping shit out of their graveyard.
It's not the cards, though. The cards exist. The cards have always existed. It's the players and the type of interaction that this generates and breeds. This is completely isolationism, like, I don't want to interact with the pod. I'm just going to get these 2 cards and loop it, which that's not what a casual... That's the basis of what a lot of these other cards were banned. You know, Iona creates one-sided interaction. Panoptic Mirror with a time loop creates one-sided interaction.
Yeah.
Recurring Nightmare is a reanimate on a stick with sack effects. Once again, one-sided interaction.
So, where would you sit on this? On cEDH?
I'm still going to allow it.
Yeah.
The cEDH pod, it's not about this, it's what you do with it.
Right.
So in a cEDH environment, once again, I think that they've also printed enough graveyard hate that I would allow this and see what people do with it.
I was gonna grab the collection for this next card, but I have about 15 of these fuckers, and I'm getting more. Rofellos comes off my list in a New York minute, which for those that don't live in New York means right now, instantaneously. And here's why. Yes, it is a 2-mana dork. Yes, it's a 2/1 dork. And yes, it has the ability to activate, create mana for each forest you control. What does that do? Heavily locks you into mono green, okay? Because you're not even using a lot of colorless mana, because you're only getting value out of your actual forest. So it's locking you into basic forest, and it's in mono green. So you're not. So that's 2 things. One, it's on the pie wheel. Green makes mana explosively. That's what it does. It doesn't counter shit very well. It doesn't exile creatures at all. It makes mana. That's what it does. So it should be allowed to make mana. Final thought about this. Mono green Savala exists, and it's doing roughly the same exact shit for 1 more mana. Thoughts?
I couldn't agree more that he needs to come off the ban list. I mean, even with Umbral Mantle or any of the Infinite Mana pieces, Infinite Mana does not win you the game with him. He's just a good comboer. He is a 2/1.
Yeah.
He is incredibly weak and easy to pick off. 2 green, once again, you got to be dedicated. Forest. The reason why he was originally banned was because when the game first came out, and I've been playing this since before it was Commander and it was Elder Dragon Highlander.
Right, you had to use the dragons.
Correct. When he was a commander, it was way too easy to go turn 1 Azusa into him, turn 2 you had anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 mana, and you were dropping a Primetime or a Sylvan Primordial or an Eldrazi.
That's another great card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get there.
We will get there. We will get there.
But the whole point is he was such an amazing enabler of green, and that's why he got banned for those reasons. But like you said, they have reprinted Savala, who does the same thing, if not better.
Because it gives you card draw towards the end, mid game.
Exactly.
You know?
So I'm 100% cool with him coming off on both lists.
Yeah. They're roughly around $18 to $20. This gets unbanned, $50 card. Highly recommend. On the reserve list too, by the way.
It is reserve list?
Oh yeah. There's only 1 printing. It's Urza's Legacy.
Yep, absolutely.
And they have foils, which are like over 100, because the people that collect love those foils. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that would be a $400 commander.
100%.
Yes. If this list that we're creating becomes true, first fucking target. That's coming off. All right. Shahrazad. Let's get a picture of Shahrazad. I don't remember what it does.
Oh, Shahrazad.
Levels.
No, I can explain this. So Shahrazad says...
I'm going to let him explain. I got to pee.
You got it. So Shahrazad says, everyone takes your deck, move to the next table, and start a brand new game using the remaining portion of your deck. The losers of that game lose half of their life total coming into the original game. So for the sake of what it is, it would absolutely have to remain banned, because the way you would play this back in the day in the 1v1 format is you would play cards like Jester's Cap or Extract or Swords or Path, and you would play everything that exiles. You would eat their deck, eat their graveyard. So when you went back to the original game, they literally had no deck left. You would use all of these mini games in order to eat their deck and then defeat them in the original.
Alex did this in our unban tournament. I remember that. Yeah, it makes a mini game. Oh
Correct.
My god, that's obnoxious.
Oh, and for the record, guys, if you were ever playing against a Shahrazad deck, hot tech, super secret, the way you beat them is they resolve their spell, You go, you create the next game, and in your first priority sorcery situation, you scoop the mini game. And it takes you right back to the original.
Oh my God.
You lose half your life, you pick up right where you started. I'm dead ass serious. That's how you beat Shahrazad. Because they need, the whole reason they're doing it is they're trying to create these mini games for a different effect. And by removing their ability to do so, it's like, you could fight the source or you could fight the clones. And the source is going to keep trying to make clones. So every time he makes a clone, just lose half your life and keep going after the source.
Other than Karn, is there another way to do this effect? Where you
restart the game?
Where you restart the game.
No.
I think this is it, right?
I think it was just those. But this isn't a restart. It's different. Karn is different.
You're right. That's a restart of the game. This is a different game.
This is a new game. This is all of the surviving players right now. Take your deck and then go start a new game on table 5.
That's nuts.
Now, the difference with Karn is in a 4-player game, if I kill Bobby and it's me, you, and Geo, and I Shahrazad, me, you, and Geo make a new game.
There is no one that wants Shahrazad back in the format. Any format. They're like, ban it and ban it again just for good measure.
But if I kill Bob and then I do a Karn ultimate, Bob comes back in because we restart the game. So that's your main difference. And I have seen that happen.
All right.
So ban it with a stick. Ban it with fire.
All right. Just because of how confusing it is. All right, we're getting towards the end of the list.
Nice.
We have ourselves Sundering Titan. Sundering Titan enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield. I think that's what trips people up. Yeah. Choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands. It costs 8. It's a 7/10. It's a giant artifact creature. Thoughts?
Oh, I want to keep this banned, believe it or not.
Why?
Because both triggers mean you can't help but gain insane value out of it. Now, there's 2 ways you play this card. Either A, I limit my basic types, if not completely, or eliminate them. So that way I'm only going to be blowing up everybody else's lands because I'm going to hit your Underground Sea for your island, then I'm going to hit your Bayou for your swamp, then your Savannah for your forest. I'm going to do the same thing to your Volcanic for your island, your Plateau for your mountain, and then your, breeding pool for your forest. Secondly, at 8, that is not very hard to be obtained, especially if we're unbanning a few of the other pieces as well. Even colorless decks could even become competitive just doing a turn 2 or turn 1 Sundering Titan.
So the contrary theory is if we're allowing stuff back like Primetime and Rofellos, this is an answer.
Actually, I disagree because Rofellos getting to play this on a turn 2/3 situation, they don't even have to hit their own forest.
No, I'm not talking about helping Rofellos. I'm saying if other players are playing stuff like Primetime and Rofellos and the other ones that do mana shenanigans, this is another way to help deal with mana when people are making a shitload of it.
I think just on the premise of if we're saying this is a truly competitive environment and we're only trying to eliminate if we don't remove this from the environment, nothing else can survive.
Yeah.
I think this stays in for competitive. I think it comes off the ban list. I hate it. I don't want to play against it.
I don't think you're going to see a lot of people
play it. And I think it makes the game really unfun.
Yeah.
But I do think that it comes off for that reason.
Yeah.
I just think that being able to hit 5 different lands in and out, flickerable, easy to cheat in as an artifact and a creature and only colorless mana.
Right.
It's too easy and too degenerate for a lot of situations. But I wouldn't say it's worthy of a ban hammer in a true competitive environment.
I think there's enough answers for this. And again, I go back to my thing for the ban list is what is the mana cost? Is it broken? Like limited resources, if it costs 8, I don't think it's broken. At 1, it's broken.
Yeah.
So this being an 8 drop, I feel when you get to 8 drops, either you're cheating them in, which you have some other shit going on, or you're actually paying the cost. I feel it represents you should be able to do something because counterspells still exist.
Yep.
And so, and with exception to Emrakul, which costs 15 because you get an extra turn.
Yeah.
If it didn't have the extra turn, I'd take Emrakul.
Okay.
All right, Sway the Stars. Each player shuffles his or her hand, graveyard, and permanents he or she owns into their library and draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. Now, I see why this card is banned in casual, because it resets a game, it makes a game longer, and potentially less fun. I don't think this should be banned in competitive. I don't think you'll see play in competitive, because it hurts everybody. No one gains advantage from this. It's just a reset. But it's fun.
I just want to see an Is It deck go, all right, I'm going to Molten Fire each one of you for 10 with Kicker, hold priority, cast this and instant speed. Like,
okay.
Did any of you see an answer?
Yeah.
Cool, I didn't die. Like, all right, I could see some cutesy stuff about it. But
yeah, I'm fine with
the fact that it
anything,
shuffles in all the permanents.
all of it, yeah.
All of it. This resets the game down
now,
to 7.
An emblem doesn't count as a permanent.
Correct.
So the emblems would stay.
Correct. So you make an Is It deck with Chandra emblems that you keep at the beginning of your upkeep, take 1 damage, and then you just slay the stars, reset the game with their emblems, and go play out of this one.
If you get that god deck off, you deserve it. There's sometimes I feel like there's plays that they're just so spectacular. If you manage to pull that shit off, you deserve the W. You just do.
And you know what? In a competitive environment, this comes off because who the hell's going to play this in the truly competitive times?
Yeah. All right, let's go to a very, very conversational one right here. Sylvan Primordial. This is a 6/8 for 7 mana. It's a creature with reach. Enter the battlefield. For each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search library for forest card. Put it in the battlefield tapped. Shuffle your library. So this is green's answer to everything that's not a creature. Now, green, being a very heavy green player, already has an answer to everything that's not a creature. It even has answers to flying creatures. It just can't handle the ground shit. So
you can. You have a 6/8 that's bigger than most of everything.
Oh, with reach. I'm saying
like,
green as a color can literally destroy flying creatures. It has a real hard time doing anything with ground creatures at all. Other than fighting. And Beast Within, there's very limited, and they did that on purpose. They tried to balance the color wheel. So how do we feel about this? This is an ETB, so it could be flashed, and you could keep doing it. So that's problem 1. It is only non-creatures, so it'll get rid of problems like planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, blah, 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 lands.
That's the problem with it, is you go turn 2 on this, you hit all 3 of your opponent's lands, and you ramp up 3 lands. You guys are down to turn 0. I'm on turn 8.
Well, it's destroy target non-creature permanent.
Yeah, exactly. So, ready? I won the die roll, and I'm turn 1.
Right.
And I'm just going to go Monocrypt, Soul Ring, land, pass. Okay. On turn 2, I play a land, and let's just say I'm just going to very simple Mana Vault.
Mm-hmm.
I have my 7 on turn 2. I play Sylvan Primordial. I blow up your 1 land, his 1 land, and his 1 land. I grab 3 more. I now have a Crypt, Soul Ring, tapped Vault, which I'll fix in a second, and 5 lands on my turn 2. So on turn 3, turn 0, turn 0, turn 0, turn 6 plus. Because I'm going to tap my 2 rocks to untap the Vault.
I see.
Still have 5 lands to show for it. And you know what? How about this? On the following turn, I'm going to either reanimate, flicker it, or do it again. Land, 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 land. Okay. He is the greatest multiplayer reanimate target that's probably ever been printed.
Does it come off a cEDH ban list?
No. I honestly think that can, believe it or not, stay. Because...
I'm not convinced yet. I'd have to see it in play. Mostly because I wasn't really heavy into Commander when this was legal. So I'd have to see if all the things you're worried about come true.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing. There's 2 ways to look at cEDH, okay? It is either A, I am going to win the game through a direct line, which is your Flash Hulk or your Demonic Consultation Labman, or I'm going to stop you from playing the game and win by default.
So I gotta interrupt you because there's some good comments in the chat. First of all, the comment is, what kind of magical Christmas land do you live in where every opening hand is a nut draw? Because you are talking about a lot of nut draws.
Have you ever played with Jorman?
Seriously,
have you ever played with Jorman? Also, cheaters, a dead ass. I always assume the worst, hope for the best, because I played with a lot of cheaters in my life.
All right.
Not that these guys are.
I'll be right back. Feel free to talk about Time Bolt.
Got it. So let's see here. So what time magic Christmas Man? Yeah, it's unrealistic. It's still possible. There is a thing called redundancy when it comes to building our decks, whether you get the Mox Diamond, the Mana Crypt, the Opal, whatever piece it is, you know. In a C environment, in a competitive game, if you don't have, early gameplay, what are you doing? And I think we can all agree on that not having a turn 1 play, is one of the hardest things to do in cEDH. Time Vault. You would say unban Time Vault? I say that's got to stay unbanned. And the same reason I said Time Warp has to stay banned. It is a 2 mana, take an extra turn, that nowadays, even worse, we have too many ways to tutor this out in Voltaic in blue. You have Trinket Mage, you have the Trophy Mage, I think is the 2.
Twiddle.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with my friend here. Time Vault should stay banned. It is a 2 mana, take an extra turn. If Embercool is going to be banned, this has got to be banned.
Yeah,
it's very abusable, and you can't convince me differently. I'm on board with almost all the rest of the Power 9 list, but I think that's just too much.
Yeah. So, and obviously the next card kind of speaks for itself.
Speaking of which, same thing.
Moving on.
For the exact same reasons. Time Vault, Time Walk, I unfortunately would stay off of my cEDH list. On to Tinker. Ooh, a popular card, Tinker. What do we think about that?
So Tinker says 3 mana, sack an artifact, search your deck for any artifact, put it into the battlefield. This enables such great plays as turn 1 Blightsteel Colossus.
Oh my god, you're right.
That's actually the reason why it's banned, is because you turn 1 Blightsteel and everyone goes, do you have a swords or a path? Who dies first?
Oh god, you're right.
In a competitive list...
I unfortunately have to agree it stays banned. I forgot about Blightsteel on turn 1.
Yeah.
That's game.
On top of that, with Lightning Greaves existing, it's just too easy.
I know counters exist, but not everyone has a counter on the ready, and if you're having to basically play a format where you have to mulligan to have a counter on your opening turn because you're afraid of this kind of shit, I think that just makes the game and the spirit of the game unfun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Tinker, ban it. It's a great card. I miss playing with it. It was wonderful, but in a world of Karn, Mycosynth Lattice, in a world of Darksteel Forge disc effects,
Karn, Mycosynth Lattice. Oh my god!
Yeah. How easy is it to tutor both at
No, hard pass. But thanks for playing. All right.
Oh, especially because Karn animates a land to sack to get the Tinker effect off.
All right, final 5. This is actually a hot topic debated here at the basement often, and I want to tell you about it, and maybe you have a different opinion than I do.
Okay.
Tolarian Academy is banned, and I think it should stay banned, and here's the reasons why.
Ooh.
Yes. Unlike Gaia's Cradle, they always bring up Gaia's Cradle. Gaia's Cradle, and I think I had this debate with you recently, Gio. Gaia's Cradle has maybe 3 or 4 creatures potentially you could go ahead and get out on turn 1 for free. 0-drop creatures.
Yes.
There's like Ornithopter, I don't know, Song of Dryads? There's not much else.
Dryad Arbor is what Ornithopter.
And Dryad Arbor would be your land for the turn. So it's not even this. You know what I'm saying?
Can't even cradle with it.
So you're fucked, right? You're not getting any value. How many Moxes are unbanned from our thing? That's like 7, all right? Then you got all the other Ornithopters and all the other things. The point that I'm making is this, with the 0 mana rocks that exist already in casual, and if we do the unbans in our new format, way too busted. You're going to have 9 power mana out on turn 1 or 2. I'm sorry. I'd have to say no.
I completely agree with you that it's way too easy to go turn 1, 2 rocks, 3 rocks with this into a wheel effect. A Time Twister? No, it's all right.
Okay.
To a Time Twister,
and to go back to defend my Raffello's point, blue should not have access to the mana that's better than green. It just shouldn't. It's not what blue does. Blue tutors, blue counters, blue draws. Blue does not make more mana than green does.
Oh, absolutely, and it just becomes way too easy for you to untap and loop that with blue or some effect.
So Academy stays banned.
Yeah. Next one. This is a very interesting one.
Trade secrets. Target opponent draws 2 cards. Then you draw up to 4 cards. That opponent may repeat this process as many times as you... Holy shit. So you just keep taking turns drawing cards?
No. So I play the card and I target you.
Okay.
You have to draw 2 cards. I, as the caster, may draw up to 4. So I draw whatever number I want.
And then they could technically recast it?
No. Now you choose, are we doing that again?
Do they choose any opponent?
No.
So they have to choose the guy who originally cast it?
It's I target you.
I draw 4, and then I target you and you draw?
No, I'm casting the spell.
This is why it's banned. It's confusing as fuck.
Okay, so I'm casting the spell. I tap 3 mana.
Okay.
Target opponent draws 2 cards. Draw your 2 cards. I draw my cards. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you repeat this process, you are guaranteed 2 cards.
Okay.
And I may take up to 4.
They can't change the target, though.
Correct.
Okay.
It's you. Do you want another 2? Because you give me 4. Do you want another 2? You give me 4. Do you want another 2? You give me 4.
So, here's what I see happening here. You're going to have players that team up in pods of 4.
Yep.
And they're going to take advantage of this.
Yep.
That being said, I don't think that's a bannable offense. What are your
technically, thoughts? You're borderline collusion at this point.
But don't you, if you have a very strong player in a very strong position, don't you collude with the other 3 players to weaken them in any regular game anyway?
I mean, Jay makes a fantastic point. Unban trade secrets because it relies on one player being stupid. But Jay, there's always a stupid player. I'm with him.
I don't have as big a problem with this, and I understand the collusion aspect, but I feel like these things already exist in the game of Magic, where if you have a very dominant player who's winning the game anyway, all 3 of the other players are doing whatever they can to stop him.
True, and it becomes sometimes the one thing I worry about is someone going like, some players who are also less honest than others of, oh, I could answer that, but I need to get an answer. Trade secrets. Let's keep digging till I get it. Ha! Once again, Jay, you're right. It involves the stupid player. So I'm sorry. Yeah. I think you have to allow it because you can't necessarily ban it on the premise of stupidity.
Right.
Because it doesn't break the game as much as the stupid player broke the game. Could have been
anything. You can't blame cards. You got to blame players.
Yeah, so you know what? I think it gets unbanned.
Final 3, Upheaval. Return all permanents to their owner's hands. I say bring it back.
Yeah, I think that in the competitive events...
It's a sorcery. It costs 6, and I'm sure there's a way the guy casting it can get an advantage. None comes to mind. Maybe they somehow exile their own shit. They maybe do, what is it where you have counters and on your upkeep you take one off?
Suspend is one way to do it.
Suspend would be one way to take advantage. But in general, it's just a reset.
Do you want to know how this card used to actually...
It's a cypher for everyone.
You want to know how this card used to actually get played?
How's that?
It used to be done with Wild Mongrel in the Madness days, where you would actually use Cradle, float all the mana on your creatures. Mm-hmm. You would Upheaval, get your hand back, bounce everything, and then you would play Wild Mongrel into your creatures with Cradle.
Yeah.
They lost all their lands, all their value, and then if you gave them haste, you pitched your whole hand and you killed them.
I see everybody bouncing, and then the guy who's the active player, he floats a shitload of mana. He goes ahead and gets all the mana dorks out, or mana, 0 drops, 1 drops.
Actually, Psychotog was the funniest thing about it.
So I mean, I see this being being a fun card. I don't see why this is any different than half the other things that do the similar effects.
Well,
Cycrift exists.
From the casual side, 1, it affects lands.
Right.
And 2, it resets the game, which is what they're trying to avoid in the casual.
Understood.
But in a competitive event, fuck it, blow it up, kill it, bounce it, destroy it, exile it all.
I'm going to disagree with you, Jay. I think this would see play in cEDH. I do think... See, everybody seems to think, and we've played enough cEDH to know better, everyone seems to think cEDH means it's over by turn 5. That's not true at all. So many games... The turn 5 player tries to go off and win. Maybe 2 of them do, but then they're countered to death, and then one or 2 of their win cons are out, and now they got to look for their 3rd or 4th backup win con. So you get a lot more grindy games in cEDH.
I think it really depends on the players.
It does depend on the pod.
Because I've had games where the game ended just because I had the balls to go for it, and I've had other games where people just don't know when to put the trigger or willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
But I would definitely allow Upheaval.
Yeah.
And the next card's in the same category.
Yes.
100%. We already said...
Worldfire for sorcery, it's 9, okay? The first 9 drop. Exile permanents. So as opposed to just bouncing them, you're getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Exile cards from all hands and graveyards. Each player's life becomes 1. So here's my question. Can you do this while this is on the stack? Exort.
You
or
can,
extort.
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 But the problem is the extort will resolve before the spell.
Okay.
So essentially what you would have to do is cast this as an instant in order to do a spell, extort, then stack this on top of it, so this resolves, then the extort trigger.
Okay.
Now, there is a number of different ways to do it at instant speed and set up for something. But yeah, even the smallest spark may set a world ablaze.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great card. Again, I'm on this bit of a thing. Yes, I agree with the chat. A lot of these things, if they're unbanned, they're not going to see play in cEDH because of how high costed they are. Or the effect is not really giving them an advantage. So they should just come off because it does. The idea of Commander, and especially competitive Commander, is you don't have to constantly reference the ban list because it's a very small ban list.
Yeah.
So yeah, let no one play it, but it's not hurting anybody being on or off. So take it off. I love it. I think it's fun. I dabble. I put my pinky toe in the competitive format. I would probably play something like this just because, fuck you. And maybe I'd fill my deck with shocks and hope I draw one.
Yeah, and you know what? The players who like to play these games are the people who don't care about winning the game.
That's a red player. A mono red player does this. Yes.
Yeah, not even just a mono red, but they're chaos players.
Yes.
They're just chaotic stupid.
They don't care if they win. They just want to teach you a lesson.
Never play with them again.
Never play with them again, yeah.
So,
all right, last card. Last card. Yawgmoth's Bargain,
now,
similar to...
This is the Gristle brand.
The Grizzle brand.
And this is why I said for 6 mana, pay 1 life, draw a card. Mm-hmm. In a casual, it's way too easy to abuse. See, Necropotence has restrictions. You don't get the card right away. When you discard, it gets exiled. That's the balance of it. With just being able to pay 1 life per card, just enables you to go, all right, I play this turn 2, 30 life, let me go get my combo, play my Moxen, play my Ritual, win the game every single time. It is an incredibly strong enabler at 40 life. And Gristlebrand, they tried it for a while, but people were just paying 7 for 7 or 1 for 1 did not matter. It was the same thing.
Why is this different than what's the other one that Jordan plays all the time? The mono black card that you skip your draw step and then on your end step you refill your hand or
That's
you draw.
Necropotence.
Yeah.
That's
why is this so different?
The difference is that this nets you the card immediately.
And Necro's only on the end step.
And Necro is only at the end step.
Okay.
So, and also, Necro says when you discard a card,
it
goes to exile.
Right.
Meaning I can go pay 40 life, 30, 40 life, stack my entire discard with my combo.
Right.
And go off immediately because I don't lose anything.
What do you think about the cEDH ban list? Yeah or no?
I think it's about 8 to 10 cards big. Like, seriously, when you think about it. We've chopped off almost everything except...
So would you keep this on it or no?
I would try with it off at first.
Yeah.
I would try.
So just to recap, and we're definitely out of time, and I want to thank you guys for sticking around. The major thoughts we had here, things that were too broken, they had to stay on. Braids was one.
Channel.
You still said channel?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you said channel, that's fine. Emrakul.
Yep.
Araya. Araya? Oh, Araya, yes. Araya.
Yeah, because even as a commander, because look, you go land,
you made
rock,
a very good point.
rock, ponder, and you got
Caracas.
Stays banned.
Are you counting?
Yes.
Leovold stays banned.
Yep, they're up to 4.
Limited resources.
That's 5.
Okay, we're going to let all the Moxes back.
Yep.
Optic Mirror back. Primetime, Prophet, Recurring Nightmare. Was that on? Yeah,
that's on.
Raphaelos comes back. Yep. Charizard. Why not? Why not?
That stays banned.
Sundering Titan.
Comes back.
Sway. That's
yeah,
fine.
we said fine.
You wanted Sylvan to stay banned?
I do want Sylvan to stay banned.
These two.
Okay.
Tinker as well.
Yep, we're up to 10.
And is anything else?
Tolarian, 11.
Tolarian is 11. So we went from, 30 cards to 11. Imagine the crazy games you could have.
Now, here's part 2. We take that 11 cards. What else needs to get added? Do you need to ban Thrasa's Oracle? Do you need to ban LabMed? Do you need to ban Demonic Consultation or Flash?
Wow.
What actually needs to get added to that list to create that healthy environment? That's your part 2.
Okay. Next week is GP here in New York. It's actually Jersey, so we'll probably bring you some live stream video from that. I may actually run into Tim and we'll talk about what's going on at GP.
I'll be there all weekend.
But we'll definitely work on the format of this and try to make it a little more interactive. But thank you very much for participating. And hopefully you enjoy what we're doing. We're trying to have a good, healthy conversation about creating another format that would be competitive format out of the casual EDH.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.